So for this Stewardship Sunday, I want to share with you just a sample of the church's calendar. And I thought what better sample to show you is from the weekend of the Monumental Marathon, which is on November 9th. So that weekend, November 9th and 10th, on that Saturday, the church is basically surrounded by the marathon. And yet, we persisted in doing ministry. Here's what was on the calendar for Saturday, November 9th. As usual, Bread and Bowl served lunch in the community room. A piano tuners convention met in the choir room. And Nurse Family Partnership's graduation was in the fellowship hall. Nurse Family Partnership is a program of goodwill of Greater Central Indiana that works with first-time at-risk mothers and babies up to 2 years old. So this is a graduation for 2-year-olds that were in the basement, about 170 mothers and infants and babies. So which made for a very strange sign in the church basement with an arrow pointing one direction for piano tuners and lactating mothers in the other direction. And then finally that afternoon, 40 West Digital's drone training program took place on our parking lot. This year we have hosting the MLK Center's young adult vocational training program called 40 West Digital, which trains people in digital arts, and one component is drone training. So that afternoon, we had drones flying around the church. And then just to add to the fun and excitement, that was the Saturday that the hot water heater broke. Yeah. And we had to call a locksmith because the lock on my door got jammed up. So it was quite an interesting Saturday. That was just Saturday. And then Sunday on the 10th, of course, there were 2 worship services here in the sanctuary, a variety of Sunday school classes that met throughout the building for sharing and reflection, coffee in the gathering center, and then following this service was the Hamilton Series lecture and panel discussion on the crisis of housing in Indiana that was in the fellowship hall. That was our weekend. The one thing all those events have in common is hope. One way or another, all of them were about hope. Hope for babies to be able to thrive in safe homes. Hope for young adults to find a vocation. Hope for our neighbors to have a meal, to be able to get through the next day. North is a place and a people of hope. And Paul reminds us that hope does not disappoint us. Regardless of marathons that may surround the building and water heaters that go out, God's hope does not go out. And God's hope does not disappoint because it comes out of the very generosity of God. And this passage out of Romans 5 is really all about the nature of a generous God. We see God giving of God's self in Jesus Christ to give us peace between us and God and to give us access in the future to a fulfillment, a completion of our lives in the glory of God. And God giving of God's own Spirit to us, as Paul concludes by saying God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit. This passage is normally read on Trinity Sunday, but think of that rather esoteric, strange doctrine of the Trinity as simply about generosity. That what we see is this is a generous God, of God giving of God's self. And if it comes from God, it will not fade or end. Hope does not disappoint. Our generous God declares that in 2025, that it will be a year of harvesting hope for this congregation and for this community. In spite of all that the world wants to say about what 2025 looks like, there will be a harvesting of hope. Harvesting of hope in this congregation of people making connections and supporting one another in prayer, a harvest of hope in celebration Sunday after Sunday with incredible music. A harvest of hope for this community, of the ways that we're reaching out and connecting with others who feel absolutely no hope in this community, in this city, in this station, in this world. When you give, you're helping to harvest hope. Through our ministries of the farmers market, through our ministries of Bread and Bowl, through our partnerships of the Shepherd Community Center that provides a place every week for senior citizens to gather and to learn and to share, through our partnerships with the MLK Center, both with 40 West Digital, but with food access that we're beginning to lean into. Through our partnership with Mapleton Fall Creek Community Development Corporation in our planning and striving for affordable housing. Through our partnership of even the Red Cross. I don't know if you noticed the past few weeks, we had a Red Cross trailer parked in our parking lot, right? We have a partnership with Red Cross to be an emergency shelter, and a couple of months ago, we actually enacted that, and through the giftedness of people in this congregation, were able to provide Spanish language translation for those people that had gotten burned out of their home. A couple of weeks ago, I was contacted by Red Cross asking if we would be on standby to be a Red Cross shelter during the Taylor Swift concert. And I said, sure, but what's the connection? Well, during the Taylor Swift concert, all of the hotels were booked in Indianapolis, so if there had been a fire in Indianapolis, they would have had to take shelter in our church. Thankfully, it did not happen. But we are a community of hope, regardless of whether it's an earthquake or it's Swifties that come into Indianapolis. That's what we are being. When you give, and sometimes you may think that your giving doesn't amount to much, but the impact that it has of how it multiplies hope in this place. Our stewardship committee is in the process of doing a community impact analysis of what we do. Here's just a sample of what we have cultivated and called through already. This year alone, we have sponsored and offered 14 free legal clinics and health fairs and other forums for the community, for people in this community to get access for what they need. 16,000 meals so far to date have been served through Bread and Bowl this year alone. 1,200 visitors to our farmers market. That's 360 dozen eggs that we gave out. That is 4,320 eggs, right? Over 4,000 eggs. That's a lot of hope. Scrambled, poached, sunny side up hope. And the need is great. The need is enormous. What we're seeing in terms of food access in this community is that just this year alone, we've had a 30% increase since January of people coming to Bread and Bowl, our lunchtime meal ministry. No, Jesus said that the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. And this harvest requires us to maintain this facility to support our staff. Tables need to be set up. Things need to be cleaned. The work needs to be done. Building needs to be repaired. One of the ministries that we are going to be offering here shortly and going into the new year is our mission and outreach team is going to begin a ministry of a shower ministry. We have showers in our bathrooms downstairs that we've not used in several years. And we're going to begin to offer showers in this community to people who are homeless. Because right now in the city of Indianapolis, if you want to take a shower, you've got basically two places to go. You can go out on East Washington Street to Horizon House, which is a homeless day shelter. Or somehow you can figure out your way to get out to the outer rim of 465 and find a truck stop and pay for it. So we're going to provide showers. And when you are down on your luck to get a hot meal and a shower, that's going to give you some hope in your life. No. The harvest is plentiful. The workers are few. So we've all got to pitch in together. And your pledge is a pledge to God's hope. And when you pledge, God does not disappoint. Let us prepare. Let us prepare for a harvest of hope next year. Let us work together, strive together, share together so that God's hope is felt and seen in this community.